Hey everyone, welcome back to Screamers. I'm Jessie.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Honor.
After the Lionesses' rain-soaked draw against Portugal this week, we'll be checking in on some international matchups from around the globe.
Plus, we'll be updating the Woso Community Noticeboard and nominating our Screamers of the Week.
Let's get into it.
So the international window kicked off, the WSL's on pause, and England flew out for a very, very, very rainy game in Portugal, kicking off our preparations for the Euros. And it was not very good, would you say?
Yeah,
I think we've all got egg on our face because last week we were pretty complacent about this game.
We were bigging up how well we do, yeah.
No, I don't think we were saying how well we do, just how well we hoped that we could
felt
do,
we should do.
Although England have been lacklustre in games exactly like this recently.
And I also feel like we all were like, yeah, Kiki Nazareth's amazing, but you can't build a team around one player.
So yes, it was Portugal 1, England 1, and England laboured very hard for that first goal in the first half, and then, as you say, second half was all Portugal. Kiki Nazareth did really show us up for our declarations last week. The one thing I want to know is when are we going to have any form of succession plan for Lucy Bronze? Because if not for Lucy Bronze, I don't think we would have even had that one goal.
Totally.
No.
I have to say, when I started watching this game, I kind of had started to feel like she was maybe not playing as well for England. Actually, this first half, she was so good.
Yeah.
And it showed so massively when she came off.
Yeah, it was a really like, oh God, we really have nothing in the tank if we don't have her. What did you guys think of the lineup first off? Let's probably start there.
I don't think it was that surprising.
No. I was surprised because I thought she would save the stronger lineup for Spain. I think I was a little bit surprised that like some of the young guns didn't get a run out against Portugal.
I wondered if she was doing the Serena thing of sticking to one starting 11 from now.
I think the Serena thing needs to change because it's really
Yes.
the tactics
It's
are
not
not
working
working.
well.
Yeah, so Jess Park and Grace Clinton got sort of the run outs and the empty berths. I don't think Grace Clinton did enough for me to really solidify like why she should have that role when
I
Jess
agree.
Park's not in.
And I thought she did a few messy tackles. I think at some points it seemed like she was kind of acting out of desperation, and some of them were actually dangerously close to kind of...
I think she was quite lucky to not get...
I think she was too,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think this was like a particularly challenging game for her, just like not having that control. And I think Ian Wright as well said in the post-match chat just that, like talking about that kind of general head loss, that he thinks that she'll really learn from that, because it's not often like at club that, or before, that we've seen her struggle like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows
It's kind of weird.
what you can't be doing at this level.
You would have thought a year at Spurs would have taught her how to deal with struggle and head loss. But I was quite disappointed by her. Jess Park was kind of kept quite quiet.
Yeah.
And the big thing that really worries me is that we're, 3 years post the last Euros and we've still not figured out how to stop people marking Kira Walsh out of the game. Is she still our main source of playmaking? Because if she is, then we're absolutely screwed.
My girlfriend actually didn't realise she was on the pitch for most of the game because, the commentators hadn't said her name until about 70 minutes.
She just sort of seemed to like drift between the rain and not really do anything.
I think if she's going to be effective for England, we need to find a partner for her again, like so that they can play through each other rather than all going through Kira.
Give the Ruby Mace Kira Walsh experiment another few goes.
Exactly, that's what I'm.
And it would have been nice to have
for.
seen that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe she had planned those subs for the 89th minute, because I'm really getting annoyed by Serena not doing any substitutes until the game
it's
is
actually
dead.
a bit crazy, because if you look at Portugal, they brought on Kiki Nazareth at 60 minutes in a trio of 3 substitutes.
And it made a massive
Another
difference.
sub at 75, score at 75.
Yeah.
And then England don't make a sub until 83 minutes.
Well, we made a substitute at half time.
Sorry. Other than that one. That was
precautionary substitution of Lucy Bronze for Jess Carter, which is, in terms of inspired substitutes, that doesn't really set the world alight, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, Jess Carter has played really well for England over the last few years, but she's not doing the same thing.
She's not
as
a game
Lucy Bronze.
changer.
No,
exactly.
she doesn't create. She's like
she's just
defensively
solid in the back line.
Yeah, so it's actually, considering we've scored 1 goal, it's like, are we now trying to protect that?
Yeah.
Like, surely
But I
we
think-
need a more creative player there.
Also, I think with the momentum we had at the beginning of the game, like they did really come out so up for it and like moving the ball really quickly. Like I actually do think we should have been scoring more. Than one goal.
We were quite wasteful at first. We had definitely were running through Portugal and sort of had the better of them. I thought Tooney had a weird game, Ella Toon. She kind of like seemed to have flashes of brilliance and then disappeared for 5 minutes.
She seemed frustrated as
And then,
well.
she
Her and
lost her
Clinton in the
towards the
midfield
end.
just seemed like a bit. They were getting frustrated.
Yeah, it was felt like none of our creative players were firing, because like other than the incredible vision to see Lucy Bronze making that run.
That was such a
incredible pass from Lauren James. But again, I don't know. I feel like Portugal had really prepared and knew exactly how to shut down all of our creative players.
Yeah, I mean, LJ had a few good chances, and I'm sad for her that she didn't manage to convert any of those, because I think she could have had like a long range shot. Yeah, that would have been great.
She could have, but it's also like, is that all
we're relying on?
Yeah, we can't rely on that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because we kept trying to do that ball in behind for Alessia Russo to run onto, and it's like a good idea, but you've got to do it at a pace she can run onto. Yeah. Like, the girl is not supersonic every single time. Yeah. We put a ball through, and they were catching out the Portugal defence every single time, and yet they were way too far, and so the keeper could just come out and sweep it up.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
We're seeing Russo making those runs in behind, obviously, as she should, but then like the midfield, Jess Park and Grace Clinton, they're not really the kind of players to make runs forward.
Yeah.
So it was like just a bit static.
Putting Jess Park out on like right wing as well felt like it was really wasting her, because again, she does the most damage when she's in the middle of the park and can direct things a little bit.
Yeah. She didn't seem comfortable out there either.
No. It was also quite funny, back to the very start of the match. Why do they keep giving Jess Park the tallest mascots? Because it was doing that thing where it goes, the camera pans down the lineup as they're singing the national anthem, and you could just see Jess Park like trying to look over the head of the kid in front of her. On a side note, why are we so bad at corners?
I know.
Look at how many goals were scored around Europe this week in like the other Nations League matches, and also internationally over in America. So many corner goals, and then our ones are like, oh, it's hit the first man again. Oh, okay, it's been clear. Oh, okay, yeah, we've not got anywhere with this. What are we doing? I know you don't have as much time at international like training breaks to practice these things, but they're all professional football players. They should be doing something a little bit better. So yeah, in terms of preparations for for next week against Spain and for the Euros on a more grand scale, how are we feeling that sets us up for the next matches to come?
I'm probably feeling a bit worse than I did this time last week about the Spain game.
Yeah, especially having seen Spain come through against Belgium.
Yeah.
Whereas we look to protect a 1-0 lead and not really make anything happen. Spain did what we said about Chelsea last week. They made their own luck because they were...
It's what Wrighty said as well in the post-match. He said, Spain beat Belgium because they're champions and they just get it done. They know how to win. It's exactly what Chelsea do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they go behind. Yeah. They're still going to grind it out.
And it doesn't matter if it's the 90th minute and they're still losing.
Exactly.
They're
still going to win.
They'll make something happen.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like England have lost that kind of winning mentality over the past... You'd think off the back of winning the Euros, you'd be able to hang on to that sensation of winning and winning and winning, but we just haven't shown that at all.
It feels like
that desire to make our own luck.
That World Cup final really destroyed our confidence as a team, I think, which is weird because, like, as much as they love to celebrate it and have embroidered it on the back of their bloody shirts, that goal from Olga Carmona in the final was just like a random mistake and a quite lucky
and yet
goal.
Spain have run with it and look at them now.
Yeah, but it's lit a fire underneath them, which is, you're right, we don't have it. I think Serena's tactics aren't inspiring them. I don't really know what it is, but yeah, Spain came back for a very last gasp 3-2 win against Belgium, so who knows. I think they're going to absolutely cook us at Wembley. And then if we're speaking about Euros preparations, Italy faced up with Wales, so Wales going to be in our group in the Euros in the summer. You got your girlfriend to watch it. They got the biggest Wales ultra going. So it was a 1-0 loss for Wales, but I thought they played...
I think Wales were really unlucky to concede that, actually.
Yeah.
I thought when it happened, it was, what was it, 4th minute?
Yeah, it was
corner,
really
something like
early.
That. I was like, oh God, is this going to be just a demolition job? But actually, they really held Italy off. Like, I thought they did themselves proud. Like, they definitely had like moments of dominating possession.
Yeah, they had more possession throughout the game than Italy. They actually won the possession battle and they were on the front foot and attacking. That goal was really weird because it was like, I don't think Bonansea was actually the player that was meant to be attacking it. It was almost like she was like the blocker header.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it just hit her head and went in anyway. So it was really unfortunate. But I thought
unfortunate.
Wales, like, if Wales play like that and England play like we did,
totally. And I think Olivia Clark can be really proud of her performance as well, their goalkeeper.
Yeah.
She did some great saves.
I texted you guys both about it, but I was obsessed with Jess Fitchlock, just like strolling around the pitch and then like, the attack's on sprinting. And strolling around the pitch like peak Lionel Messi. Also shout out to Hayley Ladd, 100 caps.
100th cap.
She's only the 10th Welsh player, men's or women's, to reach that stat, and it was really sweet. So Anne Harrod-James is usually the captain for Wales, and to celebrate Hayley getting the 100 caps, she went to the coach and said, could Hayley be captain for this match? So that's why Hayley Ladd was the captain's armband.
I think, that's deserved as well.
Yeah. She seems like the most well-liked person in women's football, Hayley Ladd. No one seems to have a
She's
bad word to say
great.
about her.
Did you see the little video of her they did to celebrate her 100 caps at half-time?
It was
really
She
sweet.
came off really nicely in that. Anyway, Wales got a massive test on Tuesday with a home game against Sweden.
Yeah, that could be fresh off the back of the Harder Eriksson derby.
Yeah.
The engaged duo of Pernilla Harder and Magda Eriksson, formerly of Chelsea, now of Bayern Munich. It's so funny, like captains, fiancés scrapping it out on the pitch. Like there was a clip of them wrestling at a corner. Like,
oh yeah, I saw that.
Like, oh, you're sleeping on the sofa tonight. Jesus. Denmark lost out to Sweden there. We also had Scotland sunk to a 1-0 win against Austria. Didn't look
not very inspiring,
particularly impressive from them, but really exciting debut for Scotland. Emma Lawton, who 6 months ago was playing part-time football,
and
then started for Scotland. She signed for Celtic in September and has been called up playing right back and played the full 90 minutes as well, which is really cool. So, promising signs for the future for Scotland, and the defence needs shoring up because it was just so easy to play through.
Yeah.
And then just one to really, add to the fear of England when it comes to the summer, the Netherlands-Germany match. God, they both look good. Oh, both those teams look good again.
Yeah, they've both had a few off years, haven't they?
Yes. It's like...
But it looks like they're going to peak at the perfect time.
Yeah, love that for them. Love that. I feel like Germany have had no real attacking threat for like the past few years, and then Clara Ball is just pinging in cross after cross after cross.
Yeah, and if you're getting that many in, you're gonna score eventually.
You're gonna eventually score some. It's no surprise that Barcelona want to sweep her up in the summer. One that's not necessarily one for England fans to watch out for in terms of like prep for the summer, but I just thought was really cool. Gibraltar women played their first ever competitive football match.
Nice.
So they only played their first ever match in 2021. Like friendly against Liechtenstein, and then it took a while for them to actually be accepted into like UEFA competitions. And they played their first game against Moldova in their Nations League C League, and they were drawing until the 93rd minute, and then they conceded a goal and they lost 1-0. But
that's unfortunate.
They're playing their first competitive home game against Faroe Islands next week. It's like the first time these players will be playing on TV, and they'll have like a home crowd there. It's going to be at the Gibraltar Stadium. Like,
that's so cool.
Big up Gibraltar. I hope you do very well.
Yeah, this is a good thing about the Nations League that I saw someone saying online about how pre this competition, it was like we had games like England thumping Latvia 20-0. And it's just like not competitive, and those players are taking time off from their jobs to play these games.
And
now with the
it's
Nations
just been streamlined
Leagues,
a bit more now,
a bit more streamlined. Teams are more evenly matched, and it's just a bit more competitive and interesting.
I would take an England 20-0 demolition of somebody though, just to get our confidence up.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, God, I miss those days. But then it's like, okay, maybe this is a bit more accurate about teams that are on our level.
Yeah.
But also there's been a massive improvement worldwide of women's football teams. So
I mean, take a look at the She Believes Cup, which is like the Arnold Clark Cup's less cool cousin. It's the USA's invitational tournament where it's a completely silly tournament except for the year that we won it, when it was actually really, really important. But it's USA, Colombia, Australia and Japan in it. And then speaking of the standards of women's football, Japan just they've always looked good, but again I think I've had a few quiet years, and they looked incredible.
Yeah, they're back with a bang
against Australia.
Australia's defence, as we know from the WSL, is woeful.
Yeah,
like if you've got Hunt and Kennedy as a centre back pairing, it's not looking good for you.
Claire Hunt has now shipped like 8 goals in a week. Oh my god, she must be suffering.
They just got embarrassed, didn't they?
Yeah,
really?
It's embarrassing.
It was like watching a group of kids playing. They just like couldn't get the ball.
Australia had 1 shot in the game and Japan had 18.
Oh my god.
Yeah, tragic stat.
It's mad when you look at the players that Australia have. Like I know they're missing Sam Kerr, but
on paper they have
some of the stars of the WSL. They've got Mary Fowler,
Caitlin Ford,
Kyra Cooney-Cross, Steph Catley,
Hayley Rasso, everyone's favourite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they should be on paper. I mean, but then I guess you look at Japan, and Japan also have an incredibly stacked group. And I think it was Yui Hasegawa's first game as captain. She's just been named new Japan captain. So
that's really well deserved.
That's very exciting. She's such a baller.
What do you think, Jessie, about the Australia goalkeeper situation with the Mackenzie Arnold versus Tegan Micah?
I saw a lot.
Because you've had a bit of Micah time.
I've had
a bit of Mackenzie Arnold time.
Did you see all the Australian fans being like, "This is why we need to stop playing Mackenzie Arnold in goal. We need Tegan Micah." I'm like, no, you don't. No, you really do not. I think they are very much like Liverpool in that you just have two keepers who aren't particularly good.
Well, I think Mackenzie Arnold's just, for me, whenever I watch her, she's really hit and miss. Like sometimes she pulls off some actually amazing stuff, but then sometimes she'll have a game like that. It's just impossible to know what she's going to do.
Yeah,
do you miss her at West Ham? Do you miss not having her?
I actually really rate Kinga Shemmick.
Yeah.
So I haven't missed her, other than the personality and the leadership that she brings.
She looks like one who gets flustered though, like one mistake and then she's kind of a bit head lossy.
I don't know about head lossy more than flustered. I think she lets the negativity get her and she looks a bit fuming.
Well, they've got the USA next, so God help them. But maybe they'll try Tegan Micah in goal for that one. But it does feel like the USA, I mean, they only beat Colombia 2-0, but it does feel like the USA could absolutely wipe the floor with Australia. I think Australia might be the whipping boys of the She Believes Cup this year.
I think so.
Hopefully England do not end up the whipping boys or whipping girls of the Nations League, but we're facing Spain on Wednesday at Wembley. You two can be there live reporting, sending me updates via WhatsApp. And then most of the other Nations League games are on Tuesday. So Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, everybody else. Gibraltar, come on Gibraltar. We'll all be playing on Tuesday, so we'll be picking that up next week.
Okay, it's time to pick our Screamers of the Week. Each week we'll all pick our favourite goal from the world of women's football and battle it out on the socials to try and win the public vote. And I'm thrilled to announce Jessie's staring at me over the
You
table.
mobilised the Chelsea voting lobby, did you?
I didn't realise that was going to happen, but here we are.
I don't know how this happened, but I was looking at the votes in our poll and it was all these like Chelsea fan accounts.
They're just ready.
I was like, somebody shared this poll somehow in a Chelsea group chat.
Thank you so much to whoever shared it.
And they've all storm voted.
Well, I'm just thrilled that Lauren James coming in clutch.
To be fair, she's got her supporters and they did their job.
Well, and I love that for Lauren.
Love that for Lauren, but my mum preferred your goal on her, so you've got the moral victory.
I'll take the moral victory now.
But yeah, go on then, Mai. I guess you get to go first.
So my screamer comes from the She Believes Cup. Mm-hmm. And it is none other than Ali Sentner's first ever senior international goal against Colombia.
I'm fuming that you picked this.
for the USA.
For USA. She was playing for USA.
Yep.
Long range rocket, top bins. It was just the definition of a screamer.
Oh, it's magical.
A classic.
Imagine that being your first ever international goal.
And also, wasn't it her first start as well?
Was it her first cap?
I think she might have come on before, as a substitute, but it's definitely her first start. First start, first goal.
Amazing.
Impressive stuff.
God, stuff that dreams are made of.
It is really what you dream of. Anna, who are you picking?
So I'm going to look to the England under-23s for mine. They had a game versus Germany in Walsall and Michelle Aguiman scored 2 great goals for England. But Michelle's goal that I thought was a total screamer, she kind of intercepts a bit of a dodgy pass from Germany and just absolutely whacks it into the top corner.
It's one of those, I reckon the keeper just saw coming and was like, I can't do anything like this. This is going in.
What's yours, Jessie?
I don't know if it's a screamer, but I watched it and thought it was absolutely filthy. So it's not like my usual kind of pick, but in the She Believes Cup, in the Japan-Australia game, the first goal, it was like kind of a scrappy, dreadful clearance that went to Fuka Nagano. On first watch, I thought she just sort of hit it into the ground and then it just dribbled in. But then on the replay from the other angle, there is this like incredible little back heel flick from Tanaka. She just sort of catches the ball from Fuka, back heels it through the legs of the defender, and then it just sort of...
Oh, love that.
So it looks like a really weird slow-mo.
Really slow,
but that little touch. So it's not necessarily a screamer, but that is
it's all in the
detail.
Yeah,
nice.
And then actually one shout out for honourable mention, which we don't have video footage of, so it's not going to get on the Instagram, to Steph and our football team, who hit the most incredible free kick in our game on Saturday. Sadly, we did lose 5-3.
Yeah, it was stunning.
So that is technically the winner, but we don't have video footage on it, so I'm actually going to go for Tanaka from Japan.
So those are our Screamers of the Week. We will put them up so you can vote for them on Instagram and Spotify. So that's from Jessie.
Tanaka for Japan.
From Honor.
Michelle Aguiman for England under-23s.
And from me, it's Ali Sentner for the US women's national team.
So we've had some lovely messages and some listener questions into the Screamers Instagram, including a message from Mark, who told us how he listens to it on dog walks with Cooper, who's also a big Screamers fan when he's not chasing squirrels. But yeah, we wanted to dig into some of these questions this week because I thought, while we've got the international break, good chance to chat about them. So the 3 things we're going to tackle this week are the idea of a British Cup, the idea of a transfer cap, and whether the league needs to be changed so more teams are moving up and down. So let's start with the British Cup. We talked before about the idea that Rangers and Celtic might be invited to join WSL. But instead of that, Mark asked, what about a British Cup that has Scottish teams, Northern Irish teams, Welsh teams and English teams facing off against each other at the end of each season as a sort of replacement for that? Because we were all, I think, of the agreement that we shouldn't just cherry pick two teams from Scotland to come to WSL. But yeah, what do you think about how a British Cup would work and what that would be like, and against it, for it?
I'm not against it at all. I think it could be interesting. I think especially with Scotland, because the Scottish Women's Premier League, obviously it's not on the level of the WSL, but it's probably closer.
Yeah.
Whereas the other nations, I'm not sure exactly how those teams would match up. So I don't know how many tiers of the English pyramid we would include in that. Would it be like a League Cup kind of thing?
Yeah. I was thinking maybe you could do it of the top 3 of each league. But I think you're right. Same thing. I think it's kind of, we don't want to give another trophy for Chelsea to run away with. You could do it of the Championship. Like if you had the top 3 in the Championship, top 3 of the Scottish Women's Premier League, because the Women's Championship in England is professional. The Scottish Women's Premier League is sort of mixed. I think there's something like 200 professional contracts across the league, but it's not fully professional. Yeah. And then the Adren Premier, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in Wales, and the Northern Ireland Premiership, they are both like a mix of semi-professional, amateurs, things like that. So it feels a bit closer in terms of like,
I like that idea, because I was thinking about it, like if we were using WSL teams, I feel like the players in those teams who are often on international duty a lot of the year as well have such a packed schedule, such a difficult time with injury, such bad sort of calendar management, because often they're fitting around the men's fixtures, that actually I just don't know if players in WSL teams have space for another sort of competition.
And they don't need it really.
Exactly. Whereas I think that's a really good idea to like introduce that kind of almost like Europa Cup style thing for the Championship, because as we've seen, they're really competitive and like you say, they're professional.
It'd be really cool to have something that is like a showcase tournament for the teams we don't often get to see as well, and to introduce fans across the UK to teams from other leagues across the UK.
I would love that, because I'd be the first to say that I don't know that much about the Welsh and Irish leagues. Like, I would be really interested to see that. I
looked up, so if we did it on the basis of last season, so the teams from Northern Ireland would be Cliftonville, Glentoran and Linfield, and from Wales it would be Cardiff City, Swansea City and Wrexham. So
I'd love that.
Get Ryan Reynolds down to come watch a game. Get him to fund it. Ryan, if you're listening, we've got a great idea for you. But yeah, I think that's such a good point about load and schedule management. It doesn't make sense to fit it in for the WSL.
But that does open just another opportunity, doesn't it? To, like you say, to showcase a whole new group of teams who maybe aren't getting the reach that they should do at the moment.
Yeah. And you could do it like a little sort of cup stage of 4 groups of a team from each league and play it out like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, like really good idea.
Yeah, it'd be so cool to expand the women's game like that. And then next, what do we think of the idea of a transfer cap? Obviously, there's been lots of chatter during the transfer window that some clubs are maybe a bit more predisposed to picking the best players from around the world and signing them. And it's not just a Chelsea thing. Barcelona are notorious for doing this in Spain too. But yeah, what are our thoughts on a transfer cap in the WSL?
There is a spending cap at the moment, and which is 40% of the revenue of your club. So it's a soft cap basically. But the thing with that is, for the women's teams, the revenue can include their parent club. So for Chelsea women, it will be Chelsea overalls revenue. So they could spend 40% of that, which is enormous, obviously. So that kind of does exist, and the reason Chelsea are spending so much money is because they can and they want to. Like you know, Arsenal, Man City, Man U, they all could be doing that too, but they're choosing not to.
Man City do spend quite a lot of money. It does seem like such an oversight that you can include the parent club, because
what that means is that the top clubs then just really pull away from smaller teams, which is why we always see the clubs which don't have Premier League backing going back down again, because they don't have anything like the same spending power as these bigger teams.
Or they sort of fold if the men's side of the club gets into which was all with Reading. The men got relegated and then the women folded. There is a salary cap, like a hard salary cap in the NWSL, which works quite well. There's a minimum wage that all players across the league are paid, and I think that's like going to rise over the next few years. There's no maximum wage, but each club has like a maximum amount they can spend on salaries in general across the club. And I wonder if it's something like that we might move towards as well, rather than
I think
like
that's a better idea, because I do think also as these clubs like Chelsea pull away, and nothing against Chelsea, because I think it's great they're investing so much in the women's team. Like, that's obviously brilliant.
It's just that no one else is.
Yeah, and then it means the league becomes less competitive, and then it becomes like a less attractive prospect for fans, for investors, for sponsors, because it's not exciting.
Yeah.
But then also on the other hand, like you see with the salary cap in the NWSL, that some of their star players are now coming over to Europe. So for example, Germa coming to Chelsea, where I'm sure she's been offered a very attractive salary. So it's like, in a way, the high salaries or the lack of a cap up is attracting the best players in the world to our league.
Yeah.
Partly, at least.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about.
I think it's so hard as well, because so much of the finances of women's football is really opaque. Like, there's so much granular reporting about men's football and like how much players are paid per week, what their signing bonuses are, like what they get for this and that. And the amount of like transfers that go for an undisclosed fee.
Yeah.
I think partly it's because clubs are maybe embarrassed to admit like how little money they actually put towards, like, is actually in the women's game.
Football clubs also don't have to say how much money they're putting into their women's teams.
Yeah.
How much they're loaning their women's teams. They don't have to say.
Yeah.
So that also makes it
it's
difficult to know what's going on.
Weird culture of secrecy. So yeah, it's one that it would be good just to ensure that like the league develops in a way, like, not that every team should be developed in exactly the same way, but so it's a less stratified approach, I think, is right.
Yeah, and I think one of the big issues is how dependent women's teams are on Premier League teams, because it just makes it difficult for other teams to break through.
Yeah. And it's the same thing we see, I think, across Europe as well. Like, the clubs that have the best support from their men's teams are the ones that are doing the best.
Yeah.
So it's something that ideally would change in the future.
And I think that links really well into the other question that you had. Can you remind me what the question was?
Yes, so that was, should more teams be promoted or relegated into the WSL? As one team at the minute just kind of seems a little boring. I think you can sort of make a prediction each season who's going to go down. So should the WSL be increased?
I think so.
I do as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will work until we've worked out like what's happening with the money.
Yeah. I think the idea of that is it wouldn't necessarily protect the team that gets promoted up from the championship, because there's still the money and the things like that. But I think it would put teams in the WSL at jeopardy. Like, I think we see teams like West Ham, we've talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
Liverpool a few years ago, Spurs, like they know if they just do enough, they'll be fine, because there's no jeopardy, because it's probably going to be the team that comes up from the championship that will go back down.
And they really can do the bare minimum in this structure.
Yeah, they can sort of coast. So I think if there's a risk that, hang on, I think that would be what would make owners spend. Owners that are outside of the clubs of like the Chelsea, the City, the Arsenal, the bigger teams, that would make owners be like, oh, we've actually got to invest in this because they could go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also as well, have we've seen like a lot of dominance at the top from obviously one team, Chelsea, and then kind of top four staying the same. It just adds like a bit more excitement to the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
Because right now we're seeing a really close kind of mid to bottom half of the table, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But then there's no actual consequence to that.
Yeah, you want to know
if there's more chance of people going down, it just makes
the
more
whole
exciting.
league more exciting. Yeah, there's like a reason to watch more games.
Yeah.
And also I think if we had like 2 or 3 teams coming up and going down, it wouldn't feel like we're always having like one team bounce up and bounce down again.
Yeah.
It would mean the spread of teams would just be different.
Yeah, and there's more a path for teams in the lower leagues as well. I think we made those changes because it used to be with the layout of the women's football pyramid that the winners of the North and Southern Premier Division
played each other
and only one came up. They've changed it now, so they both come up.
That changed like 2 seasons ago, didn't it?
So like the changes have been made structurally at the bottom, and they now need to come up to the last.
Exactly, because I think it's so competitive in the third tier and the championship. Yeah. But then for only one team to come up from the championship, it's just like, it kind of feels like it's really impossible for these teams that are investing a lot and really like building something quite exciting.
And arguably
it makes it so hard for them to progress.
And those teams are arguably putting a lot more resource and trying a lot harder than some of the teams that we're talking about that are coasting.
Like I would rather see Newcastle or London City Lionesses who are like really doing something different.
A lot of these owners, they care more about losing on their investments than they do about proactively taking action. So if they feel like your team's going to get punted down.
Exactly.
You won't have the broadcast deals are obviously not comparable to what they are in men's football, but games are on Sky and they're on BBC, whereas they're just on YouTube in the Championship.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, like teams in the Championship are actually putting in way more work and doing much more sustainable growth.
Totally.
And planning.
And it just feels like they're more excited about it and they really want to build, and like that's not the impression I get from like Spurs or West Ham or teams like that who are sort of mid to lower table every year. Like, that's not the impression I'm getting from them.
And it helps attract new fans as well to different clubs. So you don't have, I think that's also a thing we've had in the women's game, because there's been like 3 big clubs. Most new fans of women's football, I think, tend to gravitate towards one of those 3 big clubs. Whereas if you have a much more flourishing scene around the country, you get these exciting fan bases. And we saw it in the FA Cup, you were having like record attendances at rugby, at Wolves. Like it's happening. And I think those teams need to have a more accessible path up and expand it. So we are big fans of the idea of expanding the league here in WSL. So if anyone has a line to Nikki Doucette and can tell her that we've called for it, so it must happen. But they really loved getting those questions, and it's a nice chance to sort of sit and think about what we would change about the game and how we would do it. So if anyone has any other questions or topics or things you like to hear our thoughts on, even if you wildly disagree with our takes, and if you do wildly disagree with our takes, let us know.
Send us a message.
Send us an email. We'll give you all the details at the end of the show.
So let's have a look at the Woso Community Noticeboard this week. Should we kick off with something that we've all been throwing around in the group chat a little bit?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. We've got to talk about the kits. We've got to talk about the kit drop.
Yeah, so there's been a big kit drop from Adidas for their women's teams.
Away kits.
Away kits only.
Yeah. I hate them all. And that's my line. I hate them all.
I think they're mostly crap,
Yeah, they're mostly crap.
The Sweden one looks like it's like a cool bit of like lifestyle merch.
I like the Sweden one.
It looks like it's velvet almost. I don't know if it actually is.
Moment.
I've had a lot of hate in our group chat for liking the Scotland kit.
The Scotland kit is foul.
No, it's
I know,
rubbish.
like you all hate it.
In the game.
You only like it because it's pink.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, surprise.
You are so easily like when you popped up in the group to be like, I like it, guys. Like, yeah, obviously.
Everyone was like, surprise.
No shit, I likes the pink kit.
I think the Italy one with the kind of light green olive branch print.
A little clip
it had potential to be nice, but they just have like missed the mark a bit with the odd washed colour.
And also it does feel like when you make like a mock-up of something that you present, you're like, this is the work in progress version, we're going to finesse it, and then they just send the work in progress to the printers.
They all feel a bit like
unfinished.
Yeah, I hate the Spain one. It looks like a shit training top.
The Spain one is rubbish.
I hate the Spain one. I hate that it's got Olga Carmona on the back. I just hate that so much.
I think it's funny how like they've had a really mixed reception online. Like some people are like, oh God, hate them, and then some people are like, oh my God, Adidas, take my money.
I know, I saw that.
Like, no.
Like, what?
Like the amount of tweets about the Spain kit, which is just such a weird
I hate
the colours are rotten.
It looks like a weird Laura Ashley like cushion. It's just
the colours are so like beige and horrid.
Adidas used to do good kits. These are all, if you look at the World Cup kits and then you look at this.
Thought Belgium was all right.
It was
Belgium and Wales are all right.
Yeah, Wales is all right as well. It's just simple and boring, but it's nice.
And Northern Ireland was like quite clean because of the shoots. They were styling them
Northern
more.
Ireland. Actually, that was clean.
Yeah.
But again, boring.
Germany away is horrible. It looks like kind of Microsoft PowerPoint.
Oh my
vibe.
God.
It looks like a pharmaceutical company.
Supermarket
yeah.
like logo.
Yeah, it's horrible. I think overall we're really underwhelmed, aren't we?
And then we saw another kit drop. So Australia released their home and away kits just ahead of the She Believes Cup.
Nike kits, aren't they?
They're Nike kits to really christen them with a loss. And the home kit is a collaboration with First Nations artist Rico Rennie. It's the first time a First Nations artist has designed the kit for Australia, which is really cool. I really love the pattern. Good. It's like sort of a zigzag. They're made up of sort of like the Australian colours.
Yeah, I like it. It's
it's definitely better than the Adidas kits.
Oh God, far and away. And the away kit is it's sexy. It's like long. I don't love a long sleeve top usually. I'm not a long sleeve lover.
They've got both.
But I think the long sleeve looks cooler.
Cool.
It's like really lovely textured black and like a light lime green ring and
I
necking
like
around
that.
the
It is
that a lot.
very chic, I have to say.
I sort of want to go through my family tree and just be like, is there any reason I could buy an Australian kit? Like, is there anything that could justify me having this?
But so when do we think they're going to drop the Nike England kit?
Hopefully never, if the leaked version is to be believed.
Please, we can't playing that. That's like begging to lose.
My girlfriend did say when I showed her, she hadn't seen the leak, and I showed her it on Friday night, and she said, "Oh my God, we're going out in the group stages."
Yeah, like if we wear that kit, we don't deserve to win.
Yeah,
We can't respect ourselves in that
no,
kit.
it's to go from the beautiful kit that we won the Euros in to. So if you've not seen the leaks, and I clocked the reference, or at least I was trying to justify it as I think it's a reference to the 1980s kit by Admiral, which had sort of like blue and red on the thing, but they've just done this weird, it's like someone's discovered the gradient tool for the first time on Photoshop. It's this really cheap looking blue to red gradient.
I was going to say dip
really
dye, but
cheap.
dip dye would look way nicer.
Dip dye would look cool.
Yeah, but then that would be like that USA one.
Yeah, that's
dip
true.
Dye, tie-dye one.
Yeah, it's
this one is just like
it's cursed.
Tackiest,
it is a cursed
most
kit.
cursed
but hopefully
gradient.
that's not it. But do we think they're going to launch at Wembley on Wednesday?
Yeah, I kind of thought with Adidas dropping all of the kits,
it's usually not long after, isn't it?
because they want to seize on the moment, and Nike having just dropped the Australia one ahead of the She Believes
It
Corp.
would make sense.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they didn't release it for like
An away game.
But
Yeah.
Wembley, I think it's close to a sellout, or it's it's a sizable crowd.
Big game. It's definitely a big game.
I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if they didn't drop it then.
If it's the ugly one, I'm protesting.
What else are you putting on the noticeboard, Maya?
I was just going to put on the news that Sonia Bonpastor and her partner Camille Abeli,
Yes, coaching partner and
partner in life,
yeah.
have openly spoken about their 13-year relationship for the first time, which I think is really
cute.
nice.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one because like no one seemed to be shocked, but also it's quite crazy that it's
Well, they do
taken
have 4 children.
this. Yeah, they've got 4 children together.
They're just children just follow us around.
but they've taken this long to like actually speak about the relationship.
But it must be
publicly.
such a huge relief for them, and that
Yeah.
must be nice.
I
Also,
think
it probably
so.
says something quite good about the environment that's set up at Chelsea, that
Yeah.
they, for whatever reason, didn't want to publicly share that before and now have.
Or
Yeah.
it might say something really awful about the British press and them feeling forced to say something.
There's also that. I'm choosing to be an optimist about
Yeah,
it.
and that's nice
I
of
did
you.
see a lovely thing that apparently one of their children thought when they first got to Chelsea, thought that Sam Kerr was Kylian Mbappe's wife because they were just both on the cover of FIFA together. Just kind of assumed that they were a couple. I guess maybe because their experience of people working together in football is that they're a couple with their parents. But
Oh my God.
just the idea of Mbappe and Sam Kerr together is
Wow.
That is
wild.
no.
special.
Very cute.
And I just wanted to also check in with our favourite influencer, Kat van Egmond, who is still fighting for her life in Birmingham, having moved from San Diego.
Oh dear.
But this week she has been left alone. I think it's like her 3rd week in Birmingham, maybe even her
Yeah.
2nd. And her wife, Emily van Egmond, has gone off for international camp. So she has been left, to fend for herself for a fortnight in Birmingham alone.
Good luck to her.
I know. I was thinking, like, maybe I should just invite her to come and stay with me.
Oh my God, yeah, a girls trip with Kat van Egmond. Brilliant. Also, did you see the clip of her like watching her first game at Birmingham?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely
She's freezing.
freezing
Yeah.
cold.
Oh.
She's used to those San Diego balmy nights.
I know. We need to take her out for a trip while Emily is off touring. While Emily's off getting her ass handed to her in the She Believes Corp. Kat, we'll take her on a night out around London.
Anything else for the board?
I just have one tweet which I saved because I wanted to say it and watch Jessie's reaction.
I'm quite concerned as to what this is
No,
going
you
to be.
shouldn't be concerned. I just think it's like maybe one of your special interests, which is a tweet from Lexi referring to some of the surname changes that we've seen in players recently. I need a statistic on how many bicycle kicks Lindsay Horan has attempted and failed this season. I bet it's heaps. And Heaps is her new surname.
I'm sure the Lindsay Heaps will not be much change from the Lindsay Horan in attempting ridiculous bicycle kicks.
No.
Well, let's see.
I don't think that's been knocked out of her. That's all we've got time for on Screamers this week.
Join us next Tuesday where we'll hopefully be celebrating a much more exciting Lionesses performance as well as jumping straight back into the WSL.
But until then, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else at screamers_pod or email us at screamerspod@gmail.com. Be more like Mark.
And follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops. Goodbye.
Bye bye.